His mother started watching you closely after noticing this one thing. Before a single word was spoken, before you ever tried to explain yourself, something was already seen. And the moment she noticed it, the air around you shifted. I am speaking now because you felt that shift, even if you couldn't name it. I am Archangel Michael. And what I reveal to you now explains why eyes turned toward you without warning. She didn't start watching you because of gossip. She didn't start watching you because of fear. She started watching you because of recognition. There is a mark on your life that cannot be faked. It shows up in how you remain calm when others unravel. It shows up in how truth follows you, even when you are silent. It shows up in the way her son changed after being around you, subtle at first, then undeniable. That was the one thing. Not what you said. Not what you did. But who you are when no one is looking. She noticed that he stopped reacting the same way. That old patterns no longer worked around you. That arguments lost their power. That excuses fell flat in your presence. And this disturbed her. Because when someone carries authority without trying to dominate, it exposes everything built on control. You didn't challenge her directly. You didn't disrespect her role. Yet something in you quietly rewrote the rules of influence. And she felt it. That's when the watching began. Not out of hatred, but out of calculation. She wanted to know why you couldn't be manipulated. Why emotional tactics slid off you. Why her son listened to you differently than he listened to anyone else. She watched your posture. Your restraint. Your timing. Your silences. Because those trained in control always study what they cannot command. Hear me clearly now. You were not sent into this situation by accident. You were placed. And when divine placement intersects with human systems of authority, friction is inevitable. She noticed that you do not chase validation. That you don't overshare. That you don't beg to be understood. That you remain steady even when misunderstood. This is the signature of someone protected. And protection makes those who rely on dominance very uncomfortable. That is why her tone changed. That is why questions started appearing disguised as concern. That is why she suddenly wanted to know your past, your intentions, your limits. She wasn't gathering information to connect. She was measuring you. But here is what she does not yet understand. You are not operating on the same level. You don't respond to pressure the way she expects. You don't break under scrutiny. You don't fracture when watched. In fact, your clarity sharpens when eyes are on you. This is why I am speaking now. Because observation is about to turn into confrontation, not necessarily spoken, but strategic. Stay calm. Stay aligned. Do not explain yourself prematurely. Authority that comes from heaven never rushes to prove itself. If this message is resonating, let it anchor you. There is a reason you were led here. Allow it to stay with you. Let it strengthen you quietly. She thinks she is watching to gain leverage. But what she is actually doing is revealing her own fear. Because deep down, she knows something has already changed, and it cannot be reversed. And what she is about to do next will confirm everything you've been sensing but couldn't yet see. Listen closely, because in the next moment, I will reveal the move she is preparing now that her observation has reached its limit. She has finished observing. Now she is testing. This is the phase no one warns you about, the quiet shift where attention turns into pressure, and curiosity turns into subtle resistance. You may already feel it. The slight change in atmosphere. The way conversations feel weighted. The way moments that were once neutral now feel measured. Do not misinterpret this. This is not coincidence. This is confirmation. I am Archangel Michael, and I tell you plainly. When someone watches long enough and cannot find weakness, they attempt provocation. She will not confront you directly at first. That would reveal too much. Instead, she will test your emotional boundaries. She will observe how you respond to misunderstanding. She will see whether silence unsettles you or strengthens you. She will pay attention to whether you defend yourself or remain anchored. Because what she is truly asking is this: can this person be shaken? Understand something critical now. People who sense loss of influence always attempt to reclaim it in stages. Observation. Testing. Then, intervention. But here is what she did not calculate. You are not standing alone. The reason her tests feel ineffective is because you are already covered. Your spirit does not flare impulsively. Your words do not spill in reaction. Your presence does not bend under expectation. This frustrates her more than open rebellion ever could. She may attempt to create scenarios where you are misunderstood. She may subtly reframe your actions to see if guilt pulls you into explanation. She may lean into authority language, "I'm just concerned, I'm just trying to help," to see if obligation overrides your discernment. Watch closely. The more composed you remain, the clearer her intentions will become. This is why I urge you now, do not overcorrect. You do not need to soften truth to preserve peace. You do not need to dim clarity to avoid tension. You do not need to prove loyalty through self-betrayal. Authority recognizes authority, even when it refuses to acknowledge it. Her son feels this already. He senses that something around you stabilizes him. That choices feel clearer. That chaos loses momentum in your presence. And this is what unsettles her most, not you directly, but what happens through you. She is watching to see whether you will influence him permanently. That is the unspoken fear. Because influence that is rooted in peace cannot be controlled through force. It can only be resisted through interference. So expect interruptions. Expect moments where timing feels intentional. Expect sudden emotional shifts meant to redirect energy. But do not respond as though you are under threat. You are not. This phase is designed to reveal whether you operate from instinct or from alignment. And alignment does something remarkable. It removes urgency. When you are aligned, you do not rush to speak. You do not scramble to clarify. You allow truth to surface on its own. This is why I tell you, your stillness is louder than explanation. She is trying to determine whether your influence is temporary or foundational. Temporary influence fades when challenged. Foundational influence remains even when opposed. Which one are you? You already know the answer. That is why this message found you now, not later, not sooner. You are approaching a moment where her tests will escalate into a decision. And that decision will not be made publicly. It will be made internally. She will decide whether to resist you or attempt to redirect you. Both paths reveal something. If she resists, it means she recognizes your authority. If she redirects, it means she fears its reach. Either way, you remain steady. Do not mistake her watching as power over you. Watching is what people do when they no longer understand what they're seeing. And hear me carefully now. You are not here to confront her. You are not here to convince her. You are not here to compete with her role. You are here to stand as you are, unmoved, clear, and intact. That alone changes everything. If you feel this message grounding you, let it stay with you. Return to it when needed. There is a reason you were guided here at this exact moment. Because what she does next will not be subtle. The test is about to turn into a choice. And the outcome will shift the balance in a way she did not anticipate. Listen closely. In the next moment, I will reveal the single mistake she is about to make that will expose her intentions completely, and why it will actually work in your favor. The mistake she is about to make will not look like a mistake at first. It will look like confidence. I am Archangel Michael, and I need you to listen with discernment now, because when control feels threatened, it often disguises itself as wisdom. She will assume she understands you. That is the error. After watching you, after testing you, after realizing she cannot provoke a reaction, she will believe she has finally figured you out. She will tell herself she knows your motives, your limits, your weaknesses. And from that assumption, she will move. This is where everything turns. She will speak, or act, not from curiosity anymore, but from conclusion. She may label you quietly. She may decide your intentions without asking. She may take a position internally that no longer leaves room for truth to unfold. And the moment someone decides they fully understand what they have not discerned spiritually, they expose themselves. Because spiritual authority cannot be reduced to personality analysis. Divine placement cannot be explained away with logic. And influence that comes from alignment cannot be predicted by pattern recognition. Her mistake will be trying to manage what was never hers to manage. She may attempt to steer conversations. She may set subtle boundaries meant to limit your impact. She may apply emotional pressure through expectation, tradition, or obligation. Watch carefully. Not to react, but to witness. This is the moment where many lose ground by trying to defend themselves. You will not. You will do something far more powerful. You will remain unchanged. And this is what unsettles her deeply. Because when pressure is applied and nothing moves, the source of the pressure is revealed. She expects adjustment. She expects explanation. She expects compliance. But alignment does not negotiate its nature. Your calm will feel like defiance, even though it is not. Your silence will feel like resistance, even though it is peace. Your steadiness will feel like authority, even though you never claimed it. This is when her assumptions will begin to fracture. She will notice that limiting your voice does not reduce your presence. That redirecting attention does not remove your influence. That emotional tactics no longer produce emotional outcomes. And this will confuse her. Because the strategy she is using has worked before, on others. But you are not operating from insecurity. You are not seeking permission. You are not dependent on approval. And that makes you impossible to contain. Hear this clearly now. The reason her mistake works in your favor is because truth does not need to announce itself. It reveals itself naturally when false conclusions are acted upon. Her actions will contradict her assumptions. Her words will expose her fears. Her behavior will clarify what she tried to hide. And you will not need to point it out. Others will notice. This is important. You are not meant to be the one who exposes her. Light does that on its own. Remain grounded. Remain respectful. Remain unreactive. Not passive, anchored. Because when she realizes her conclusion was wrong, she will face a crossroads. Admit misjudgment. Or double down on control. Both lead to different outcomes. If she admits misjudgment, the dynamic softens. If she doubles down, the imbalance becomes obvious. Either way, the power structure shifts. And her son will see it. This is the part few anticipate. He will begin to notice the contrast between reaction and restraint. Between emotional force and quiet clarity. Between pressure and peace. And recognition will occur, not because you convinced him, but because truth aligns naturally with what feels real. You are not pulling him away from anything. You are simply standing in something solid. And solidity invites reflection. This is why I tell you now, do not shrink during this phase. Not in tone. Not in posture. Not in presence. You do not need to expand either. Just be. The mistake she makes will accelerate what was already unfolding. Because once someone misjudges aligned authority, they lose the ability to influence its direction. And what comes next will surprise her. She believes she is still deciding how this unfolds. She is not. The moment she chose assumption over discernment, the outcome began moving without her consent. If this message is steadying you, let it. There is a reason your spirit recognizes these words. Stay with it. Because the next shift will not come from her actions. It will come from his awakening. And when that happens, everything changes in a way she cannot control. Listen carefully. In the next moment, I will reveal how his perception is already changing, and the one sign that will confirm the shift has become permanent. The change in him will not announce itself loudly. It will arrive as clarity. I am Archangel Michael, and I tell you this now so you do not miss the significance of what you are witnessing. Awakening rarely looks dramatic at first. It looks like discernment quietly switching on. He will begin to pause where he used to react. He will question patterns he once accepted without thought. He will notice emotional loops instead of being pulled into them. And this will unsettle her far more than open disagreement ever could. Because when someone awakens internally, control loses its grip externally. You will see it in the way he listens. Not just to you, but to himself. You will see it in how he no longer rushes to explain his choices. In how he no longer absorbs guilt the same way. In how his posture subtly shifts, from defensive to deliberate. This is the sign. When a person stops defending their peace, it means they have claimed it. And peace is contagious. She will notice this before anyone else. She will sense that her emotional leverage is no longer landing with the same force. That familiar triggers no longer activate the same responses. That her words are being filtered instead of absorbed. And this is where fear intensifies. Because control thrives on immediacy. On reaction. On confusion. But clarity slows everything down. He will begin to choose silence where he once chose justification. Distance where he once chose argument. Reflection where he once chose compliance. And she will interpret this as influence. In part, she is correct. But not in the way she thinks. You are not directing him. You are mirroring stability. And people rise to the level of stability they witness consistently. This is why you must remain grounded now more than ever. She may attempt to insert urgency. She may frame choices as time-sensitive. She may subtly imply consequences for not responding the old way. But urgency is a tool of fear. Alignment does not rush. And here is the truth few are prepared for. Once someone tastes clarity, they cannot return to unconscious obedience. He may not say it aloud yet. He may not even fully understand it. But something in him has recalibrated. This is the permanent shift. The sign you are watching for is this. He will stop asking for permission emotionally, even when he still shows respect outwardly. That distinction matters. Respect can remain without surrender. Love can exist without control. Connection can survive without compliance. And when she senses this, she will face a decision of her own. Adapt. Or resist harder. Adapting would require humility. Resisting will require escalation. And escalation always exposes motive. You may feel the atmosphere grow tense, not overtly hostile, but dense. Moments may feel heavier. Conversations may feel layered. Do not internalize this. This is not about you personally. This is about authority realignment. Whenever internal authority awakens in one person, external authority must either recalibrate or overextend. If she recalibrates, peace enters. If she overextends, imbalance becomes visible. An imbalance never hides for long. This is why I caution you again, do not become the focus. Do not allow yourself to be framed as the cause. You are the witness, not the instigator. Let clarity speak for itself. Others will begin to notice the difference in him. They may comment casually. They may sense a calm they can't explain. And every observation will reinforce what is already irreversible. Because once discernment awakens, it becomes self-sustaining. You may wonder what your role is now. It is simpler than you think. Remain consistent. Remain respectful. Remain unmoved. Consistency builds trust without words. Respect disarms accusation. Stillness reveals truth. You do not need to guide him. You do not need to rescue him. You do not need to stand between them. You only need to stand as you are. That is enough. If this message is strengthening you, let it remain with you. There is purpose in this timing. You were meant to hear this now. Because the next phase will not be about watching, testing, or assumption. It will be about exposure. Not dramatic exposure, but relational. And when it happens, she will realize something that changes her approach entirely. She will realize that the influence she feared was never something you imposed. It was something that awakened because her control loosened. And when that realization lands, she will make one final move. Listen closely. In the next moment, I will reveal that final move, and why it will decide whether this situation resolves peacefully or fractures permanently. The final move will not be loud. It will be strategic. I am Archangel Michael, and I speak now with precision, because what happens next determines whether this story closes in peace or opens into distance that cannot be undone. When she realizes control has loosened and cannot be reclaimed the old way, she will choose one of two paths. She will either soften or separate. Softening looks like sudden understanding, gentler words, An attempt at reconnection framed as maturity or compromise. But do not misunderstand this moment. Softening does not always mean surrender. Sometimes it is reconnaissance in disguise. Separation, on the other hand, looks like withdrawal. Emotional distance. A quiet repositioning where influence is maintained through absence rather than pressure. Both are attempts to regain equilibrium. What determines the outcome is not her choice. It is yours. Not through action, but through posture. If she softens and you rush to reassure, over-explain, or compensate, the dynamic resets. If she separates and you chase clarity, justification, or repair at the cost of your alignment, the imbalance deepens. Hear me clearly now. This is the moment where many undo months of progress in minutes. The temptation will be subtle. To prove you are not a threat. To show you are harmless. To restore comfort at the expense of truth. Do not fall into this. Alignment does not collapse itself to soothe fear. If she softens, receive it calmly, but do not rush intimacy. If she distances, allow it without panic. Neither response is rejection. Both are tests of self-possession. Your steadiness here seals the outcome. And here is the truth she is not prepared for. When control is released, even reluctantly, respect becomes possible. Not immediately. Not perfectly. But genuinely. If she sees that her final move does not provoke fear, guilt, or compliance, something shifts inside her. Because power loses meaning when it no longer creates reaction. This is when the dynamic can heal. Not through confrontation. Not through explanation. But through redefinition. Roles realign naturally when resistance stops feeding them. And her son will feel the difference instantly. He will sense relief. Breathing room. A quiet permission to be whole. This is what you were placed to model, not rebellion, not separation, but integrity without collapse. That is rare. And rare things are noticed, even by those who resist them. If peace is chosen, it will unfold gradually. Boundaries will become clearer without being spoken. Respect will replace tension without ceremony. If fracture is chosen, it will be clean, not chaotic. And hear this without fear. Not all fractures are failures. Some are releases. You are not responsible for holding together what was built on imbalance. You are responsible only for remaining aligned. That alignment is your protection. If this message has carried you through uncertainty, let it settle. There is a reason you stayed to the end. Presence recognizes truth. Before I leave you, hear this final assurance. Nothing about this situation caught heaven off guard. The watching. The testing. The mistake. The awakening. The final move. All of it has been contained within divine order. You were never meant to fight this. You were never meant to fix this. You were never meant to be consumed by this. You were meant to stand. And standing changes outcomes quietly, but permanently. If peace unfolds, receive it without shrinking. If distance follows, accept it without guilt. Both outcomes honor truth. And truth always protects those who remain faithful to it. If you feel guided to remain connected to messages like this, allow that guidance to continue. There is more ahead, but only for those who stay aligned. I am Archangel Michael. You are protected. You are seen. You are not mistaken. And the influence that was noticed. the one that started all of this, was never something to fear. It was always a sign of who you are becoming.